Welcome to HR Unlock, the HR podcast that takes you on an exciting adventure through the world of human resources. I'm your host, Joha, and I have with me.
Kelechi, and I'm so happy to be here again.
So if you're watching this episode, it means that you probably watched our last episode. And if you didn't watch our last episode, please go and watch our last episode
And
and watch all the
subscribe,
episodes
please.
and subscribe. I'm assuming that's if you are
On
on
YouTube.
YouTube. Yeah, also subscribe to our podcast. Anyways, our topic for today is how to pass your HR examination.
Yep.
So, if you don't already know, I wrote my exams sometime in 2020 something, 2021. And I wrote the PHRI exam, that's Professional Human Resource International, and it is an exam that is certified by the Human Resource Certification Institute, and yeah, it's an internationally certified course.
Yeah, so I wrote SHRM, which is by the Society of Human Resource Management, and it's more of an American exam, and it's also internationally recognized, and it's a very good way to kickstart your HR career.
Okay, so for those of you that don't already know, I have a legal background, but when I decided to work full time, when I started to work full time with Repose Bay, I decided to take the course just so that I'm not one of those human resource managers. I say, oh, I know how to manage human beings. I have good relationship. I think at an early stage, I understood that human resource management or human resource as a profession is not something that you should do on vibes, right? It's something that you need to take a certification for it, especially if you want to work as a strategic business partner.
Yeah.
And I was not somebody that wanted to be doing only administrative things. So I did my research and I, found that I could take a course on, you know,
Yeah, so I
human
also had like
resources.
a background in business development. So I'd done like 7 years of my career in business development, and I wanted to transition to human resources. So that's why I took this SHRM exam. And why did I take it? Since I already gotten like far in my career, I took it because, like Joa said, I didn't want to be going on vibes. I wanted to be one of those people that had the audacity to say things that are relevant to both my clients and also to the HR profession. Also, I did mention that I'm also an associate member of our very own Chartered Institute of Personnel Management. And why was it necessary for me to be a part of that association? Because also I wanted to be properly grounded and integrated into human resource management and everything that has to do with personnel management and workforce planning. And to be able to do that, you need to be in the right associations. You need to also be in the right. You need to be certified by the right bodies as well.
Yes. So I completely agree with you. And back to the main topic, right? What did you do to pass your exam? What did I do to pass my exams? To be honest, I don't have like steps to follow, but I think I have good advice. And I'll
Yeah.
say that the first thing you should do is find a training
But Joa, let's
center.
start with who is legible for this. The legibility, the some people might think, oh, I'm just my first 1 year, my first 2 years. So I think we should we should start by asking, like, do you think you're supposed to get the certification
I think that if
from
you,
0 to 5
yes,
years?
it
And
doesn't matter. I've had friends, and that's also linked to finding a place that you can write this exam, right? Because when I reached out to, I don't want to give free publicity, but it really helped me. So yeah, shout out to Certification Edge,
mm-hmm.
because when I reached out to Certification Edge, they asked me what my years of experience
Yes,
was. They
exactly.
had asked, what I've done so far, what career, what was my course of study, initial course of study, what was I doing before now, and just so that they could be able to advise on where I could start. So you can start from APHRI or some, the more easier version or the easier courses, and then transition into going into like the further and deeper courses. There's no way I could have written SHRM, which she wrote, because I just had like 3 or 2 years in human resource management at the time,
which is important
so
to know.
your years of experience is going to determine where you would start your course from, like, or help you to know what course you should take. The truth is that if I written an exam, there are people that are like working in big organizations who failed that exam that she wrote. Me, I don't know if I could have passed it with just
I'm sure
a
you
little
could have.
experience. That I don't know. I
But
don't
you also
know.
don't want to waste your money on an exam that
Yes,
you don't have
it costs
the...
money in dollars,
Yeah.
right? So you don't want to fail. So that's why you need to know what level you
Yeah.
are to start from, right?
Exactly.
Like Kelechi said. So yeah, start from when you're advised, when you find a training center, they will advise you on where to start from. I suggest you don't argue with them, because most of the time they know. And how do they know? Because they already have, a lot of them work with data, and they know the success rates of people who probably are more experienced, and then the success rate of people who don't have enough experience.
Yeah.
So it's important for you to let them guide you. I think you can also take the exam by yourself if you're determined, if you're also unemployed, right? You have enough time to prepare and read the modules.
Well,
I believe that they can. I believe that they can take it by themselves.
I disagree. Why? Because I think you need some level of
Guidance.
not
Or
just guidance. So it
tutoring.
Tutoring. Because that exam, right? So if you've taken like GMAT, all of those type of things, right? What the exam is a bit similar, right? You might get to the exam and see two alike answers. So you need to know that there is a right answer and there is a correct answer.
Fair enough. That's why you need to go to, because I remember they taught
because they teach you how to
and
answer
they also
the
give you
questions.
LMS. So yeah, you should actually go through it. They give you LMS. See, that LMS helped my life.
Yeah.
And they give you LMS. It feels like I can't say this. We can't talk on this topic without referencing Certification Edge, right?
Yeah.
And I'm sure there are other institutes. I recently saw one, I don't remember their name, but there are other institutes like Certification Edge that can guide you through your examination.
Yeah, and the thing about Certification Edge is that they let you pay in installments. What I mean by installments is they let you, for the tutoring, they let you pay in installments. And then when it's time for you to pay for the exam, they can also help you pay for the exam. Of course, just have to give them the Naira equivalent of that. But I would definitely say being in a class, having other like-minded people would help you pass the exam. Yeah, and also in passing the exam, you have to learn about the questions. So you have to keep practicing questions, right? Familiarizing yourself with possibilities of having two correct answers and knowing which one is the right answer, which one is the most suitable answer to go with in that whole question. The thing is that every time, even as a Nigerian HR, especially as a Nigerian HR, you need to put at the back of your mind that there's world best practice. I remember one question that they said. The question was like, let me just paraphrase it. They were asking something like, okay, if you have to it was something around employee welfare versus going to your boss, attending to your boss on a certain issue, right? Normal Nigerian in me, during my practice question, I chose attending to your boss because I felt like the boss is more important than the employees. But I failed that question when I was doing my test, and not the actual test, when I was just like practicing. Why did I fail it? Because global best practice, you also need to look out for your employees. So those are the tricky things that you see there. Your Nigerian way of doing HR does not work.
And I advise you just take sentiments aside.
Take sentiments.
I think another reason I passed is because I passed law school. all those people that were writing stories in law school, they did not do well. Oh. They didn't cope well because you need to take sense. If they ask you what is A, don't answer what is ABC. Just stop at A, and that's what she's saying. Best answer, and then good enough answer. Good enough answer, you might decide to go and bear and be doing ABC. If they give a scenario question, I promise you that the scenario question is based on the scenario. Don't say coulda, woulda, shoulda, and the person could have done this, and maybe the person did not do that.
Just stick to the best
Just-
practice.
yeah.
Standard best practice.
I think that's the hack for the
Standard best
exam. But
practice.
like in preparing,
don't be Nigerian about your answer.
yes, and in preparing, just
So in
attend the
preparing for the
classes.
exam, let's go in details now, Joha. In preparing for the exams, what were the things that you did that you think helped? So when you answer what I think helped.
okay. First of all, I think taking the lessons, I paid attention. I learn with my eyes. I learn by looking at the so once I leave, like it's because it's a live session, right? I always watch the lecturer, the amount. That's how I learn, right? In school, I don't need to miss classes. I'm not one of them. Any class I miss, I might fail that course. So I learned. All the classes I attended, all the classes I learned by listening and paying like serious attention, right? Because I did my classes in February. I wrote my exam in November. That's a long time, right? So then some of the things that I listened to or I watched just stayed, right? Then for reading my books, I read alongside with my LMS. Certification Egg provides you, they still give you videos that are valid for like 20 days for your exam. I think was it 20 days or 10 days for your exam, where you watch the lecturers explaining the courses again. So like I said, I learn by watching rather. So yeah, that helped me a lot. When I was reading my
listening.
watching and listening.
Okay. So you like video content?
So I would not. I prefer to watch a YouTube video than listen to a podcast.
Oh.
It will stay longer if I'm watching the person speak.
Okay.
That's for me. Right. And when I'm reading, I underline. You see scribbles in my notes. I like hard copy, so I like to see you see scribbles in my notes when I'm reading. So yes, that's how I read with my LMS. I took the LMS again. I tried to go through the LMS like twice. I tried. It was very hard. I tried to go to the LMS like twice. What again? I prayed though. I prayed. My mother prayed for me. I prayed because if I wanted to write that, there was no way I'm writing it again. So yes, I read and I prayed. Don't be like me. I read towards the end of the day. I didn't read anything in March, April, May, June, July, August, September. I only knew I was writing the exam in November, so I started to read in October. Don't take my advice,
Don't take your advice. So my story is a bit similar because we did Certification Edge, right? I also did Certification Edge, and what helped was for me, I did a lot of practice questions before I read. So I'm one of those people that will go and I'm a kinetic learner. I think that's what they call them. People that learn by doing. So I went in and answered as many questions as possible. I saw some questions on YouTube. There's a YouTube channel called Deep Practice. I went there. I got some questions. I got questions that were in the learning management system, the LMS. I got questions from like SHRM website. So I was practically just munching, eating all the questions, failing them and understanding why I failed them. So I'll take the questions, and if I get 50, because the pass mark for SHRM is 80 over 100, right? So if I take the question and I get 70, I'll try to understand why did I get 70. Oh, okay, I have to do it again. So the more I kept taking the questions, the better I understood what I was reading. So that's like one of my own strategies. Practice. Then when you know that you have familiarized yourself around the topic, when I know that I'm familiarized myself around the topic, then I now went to start reading. And then when I was reading, I understood things better because I had already interacted with the questions. So that's my own strategy, right? It's sort of like a reverse because I know the way I learn is by doing first. So it stuck better. And yeah, so when it was time for the exam, what did you do a day to the exam, Joa?
Okay, so what did I do? I was for this exam. I was a bit ill. I had a cold before the exam. I was coughing and I treated malaria. I don't know, Sha. Devil was Sha trying. But I also thought I had COVID, but I did a COVID test just to be sure, because they had sent us a message and said that if you were coughing or if you had any signs of COVID-19, you should not come to the hall, right? So there was that, right? Then, but I knew I was going to write the exam. Most of my prayer points was, God, don't let me cough in the hall. I do not think I should go back, or let them not see that I'm looking sick, and they tell me to go back. So but I read till 6 and I decided to try and get a good night rest.
Okay.
I also spoke to people earlier in the day to ask them how the setting was like, just to know people that had written the exam before me. The person I sent message to, she did not reply me until the exam morning. I don't think anybody really answered that question for me, to be honest. So it was like I was just going to do like anything I see, I'll take it. I'm sure I read. Right, so I slept well. Yeah, I tried to sleep well so that my brain would be refreshed by morning. And I was also leaving. My exam was by 11. I was leaving the island to the mainland, so I wanted to sleep well. I wake up refreshed. So I think that helps me. I mean, it always helps me. Of course, I prayed again. Again, I prayed. What did you do?
Well, that period, I didn't have any nanny in my house. They had gone for December break, and I was left alone with these kids. So I'm both my kids, of course, they're toddlers, so a lot of energy and a lot. So I just had to, thank God, my husband, I had to like push them to him, try to like focus on resting because of all the because I done like a mix of reading, taking care of them, reading, taking care of them. So I had to like just like rest. I wanted to sleep very well because I was not. I was exam was going to start at 8, but there was like this rule that you had to get there maybe like an hour before the
Yeah.
exam. So I had to wake up early. Of course, I prayed very well, and I think that was the morning that mommy was in a coma as well. So yeah, my mom was in a coma, so I had to pray that God, please keep her. Let me meet her after this exam and everything. So the exam day, when you're taking the exam, you'll be feeling like, am I sure? Did I really prepare? There's always a scenario based question, and then there's always the normal question. So the scenario based question is the one that carries
Most of the
muscle and weight because it has a lot of like the word implies scenario.
if you don't like to read, you fail LD scenario based questions. That's just the truth. If you're not ready to read line for line and line by line to pick out facts on your own, you start to pick out the issues from the scenario based question. That hack helped me, right? So I was reading, maybe it was also legal background too, because that's something we do.
Yeah.
But from reading the scenario based questions, I was already picking the issues like, it doesn't seem right, doesn't seem right. So I could anticipate the kind of questions that would come out from the scenario.
So also let me add. Sorry, I need to add this. When you're reading a scenario based question, you should know what topic they are talking about.
If you don't know the topic,
Is it compensation and benefits? Is it recruitment, talent acquisition? You need to be succession plan. You need to sort of have an idea what part of human resource they are talking about in that question,
and
so that you don't.
It can be a mix of two issues.
Exactly,
Or three
so
of
that
these issues. That's the. So you need to read all your modules first of all. If not, you won't be able to know what where the question is coming out from or what they're expecting you to do in that scenario. So you need to read all your modules. You need to digest your modules. Exam day, I finished early because I was holding my cough and rushing. I didn't want to cough. I was holding it. Oh, then I started to cough hysterically. when I think I had 1 hour left and like 30 questions or 30 questions. So they asked me, come out. They gave me water. They then said, "Ma, we don't think you can continue." Because other people were writing other exams too, not necessarily
I said, yeah,
PHRI,
PHRM.
but they writing other exams at the center. So they're like, "Oh, this is not safe. It's against our policy. We need you need to stop coughing. Maybe pick another day." I said, "Eh? What do you mean?" I told her, "Please, I have only 30 questions." I practically held my breath for the last 30 questions. By the time I finished, I think I had like 30 or 40 minutes left. The way I rushed it. So I was just like, God, you know I've struggled for this. Because yes, I read most of my reading was in November was in by my mother's hospital bed. That helps me to complete my modules, to be fair. Because in the hospital you can't lie down on the same bed with the patient, right? So I was sitting most of the night
And
overnight.
reading.
So I'll just sit down, cross my leg, cover my leg, play music, and then read. So that helps me
Yeah.
to complete my modules, right? And that day they told me to go back. I begged them. I told them it's just an allergy. I think this place is stuffy. I should have turned it around to make it their fault, even though I knew I was coughing. Forgive me, God, and thank you. So yes, but it worked out for good. By the time I was done, by the time you are done, by the way, nobody told me you're going to see your results like as you're getting
Live.
to the. They are just package for you.
Yeah,
I'm like,
just
what do you
give me
even mean?
in the envelope. Okay, so mine was a bit different. When you finish your exam, you see pass or fail.
Eh?
So
Okay, I didn't know that one. I
that
didn't
one
even
was
see.
that one. You at least you came out to get the printout. Once you submit your so they'll after your exam, after the whole questions, they'll give you a survey. Once you fill the survey, next thing you see, if you are doing coconut and say I don't want to fill the survey, that means you just want to you want to see your pass and fail quicker. So I filled the survey because I was thinking in case they are choosing people, God, let my good speak for me. So I took the survey, and before you know it, immediately I moved to I clicked next after the survey. I just saw you passed. See hot tears in my face. I know the days of face mask. Hot tears just came out like,
I cried.
oh
too.
my
When
God.
I opened my results, I cried.
I was so like the tension was too much and I was so cold. Immediately I became cold because I'd been taking the exam and I think the thing had been warming me up. Immediately I just saw the pass of fail. I was like, this place is too cold. Let me leave this place.
I even came outside
Yeah.
to open the envelope. I
But
cried.
guess what? I had like almost an hour left. I finished an hour early. And when I saw people that were still writing and I finished, I was
You're
saying,
wondering why, right?
I
think there was
did I write rubbish?
there was more than enough time. Even,
Yeah,
I even wrote my exam
I think
before
it's
my
about
11
140
o'clock.
minutes. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I had like an hour left. It doesn't help because maybe also my background in Unilag, I was also rushing to beat time, but I was over rushing. But yeah, I definitely had to. I definitely did well for me to have passed, right? But I don't know why I was rushing. Maybe I should have like calmed
I
down.
think your background helps
My background is
to
that
be
I must
honest.
beat time.
In
So,
law school, we used to use 60
uh,
minutes to answer 100 questions. For
so that
the
means you have to.
objectives.
So that means you have to split your time properly. And those
I had
scenario-based
enough time.
questions.
I used part of my time to be begging them to allow me to continue. My time was reading, all the time I was coughing and saying you should allow me to continue writing.
I stood up to
My
pee,
time was
Jojo.
reading.
I stood up to pee, stood up to pee, came back, and I still had 1 hour left. But what I liked from SHRM exam was how they divided my competency. So there was business acumen, there was leadership, I think workforce management also, and then there are 4 competencies that they based it on. And yeah, so I was able to know my strong points.
Yeah, they did the same thing.
Yeah,
for
my strong point was leadership and business acumen, which was actually not a strange thing to me. Yeah.
Mine was workforce management. I think that's why I scored the highest.
Yeah, I scored the in leadership. I think I scored the same thing, leadership and business
Yeah.
acumen. Yeah. So
So I think the points that I should take out of this is one, if you're transitioning to human resource management, you should also take one thing that we didn't mention. I took like short courses, training courses before then.
Short courses will help.
Before, and I think that prepared me. Of course, then I put myself in the work. So
Yeah.
there's a level of experience. Like when you start to experience or do the work, the actual work, it helps you with your exams. So do short training courses.
If they don't have a job, they should volunteer.
Volunteer so that you can have the experience. Find a training center because of they helped me a lot with the tutoring aspect and the LMS. The LMS is very important because of the questions. But I said that you can do it by yourself. Maybe she went to YouTube to find past questions. So I think I also go to YouTube to find past questions, because the truth is that if you don't have the money you need money for the exam and you need money for the tutoring center, right? Or the institute.
Guy, go and look for money for a tutoring center, Jerry.
You don't have the money. This economy is hard. You don't have money. You have data, right?
You don't want to fail an exam because of that small investment, right? You don't want to fail.
I don't want to fail. That will make you to read more on YouTube too.
Okay.
That make you to make.
You will find free resources on YouTube, but let that be in addition to having proper guidance about taking the exams. I wish that's
please,
me.
If anybody is watching this video, right? Because we're now
arguing. Are you team read by yourself?
Since we're arguing, anybody that is watching this video, please let us know if you wrote your PHRI and you didn't use any institute. We'd like to know how you did it.
Yeah.
And perhaps you should drop a comment.
Tell us how you even managed to pass.
Yes. Share the video and tell us how you passed. That's the only way to settle this.
Yes.
But yes, like I said, read. Don't be like me. That reads few days to the day. And when you're doing your practice questions, anyone you fail, I need to tell you, if you have an LMS, to tell you why you failed it. But any topic that you see that you're failing, I always took note of those topics and I reread them, and that's what helped me.
That's another thing.
So you can also do that. So
you can do that, yes.
And pray.
Yeah. So when you're reading, don't underestimate the power of practicing questions. Because like I said, sometimes there are like two correct answers in one question. You need to understand why one answer is not why one answer is least appropriate to the other answer. So the only way this can happen is if you are able to take at least 500 questions on that, on the whole topics, on the whole competencies. Take at least 500 questions.
All right, you have it from person that passed
the people that pass.
The person that passed the real that exam. People that are working in big companies and multinationals have failed. I know somebody that had to travel all the way to the UK or so, or was it Canada, to prepare so she could pass this exam that Kelechi just knew. Right. Oh, and Kelechi didn't tell you that somebody that failed came to her too, and she helped him.
Yeah,
and he passed. So this is your plug. This is your plug. If he was passed, right?
Yeah, someone reached out to me and he was like,
he had failed before, and
he has failed. Yeah. So I just told him, guy, go and practice as many questions as you can, and that helped him. So he kept practicing questions. Then he went when he was failing some of those questions, he went back to reading why he failed it and understanding the topics better.
Yeah, so that's it. That's all we have for now.
Yeah, so do your certification exam, guys. Stop saying you are a HR and you're just doing on vibes.
I mean, CIPM is good.
CIPM is our very own. Please support it.
And
go for CIPM.
International is
good too. please.
Good too.
At least the minimum you should have is CIPM.
Yeah.
Please.
But if you can have both of them, fantastic. So guys, that's it for today's episode. Thank you for staying tuned. I hope that you learned something, and if you're trying to transition to human resource management, I hope that this video helps you. And especially if you're trying to take a certification exam, maybe you learn one or two things. If you don't learn anything, know that you need to do practice questions. That was repeated several times, and Kelechi swears by it. So please do your practice questions, find practice questions, right? Thank you guys for staying with us.
Yeah, thank you, and it was really, really fun. Please watch our other videos and then subscribe or wherever you're watching this video from. Either you follow us or you subscribe. So thank you.
And for Ready Job Seekers, you can find training materials and LMS on our website at www.readyjobseeker.co. And we hope that it's helpful to you. Till next time.
Bye,
Bye bye.
guys. Have a good one.